Are you KOL? Are you influencer? No? It's okay, as long as you want to be a KOL influencer. Well, if you don't, then you got to question why you want to drive this car. Are you cool enough?
This is the Volvo EX30, which I drove back in August 2024. And back then I was like, I love it. But now that I've got more time with the car, a few days to myself with it, I think maybe I'm not trendy enough for it. Maybe I'm unworthy.
I only kind of love this car now. Sort of. Maybe. Possibly. Let's find out more. I'm Jim. This is Carlist.
It launched back in September with 3 variants, 189K for the Plus, 209K for the Ultra, and 229K for the Ultra Twin Performance, all CBU from China. Now, CKD versions are rolling up production lines. No change in price or spec, but the entry-level Plus is gone. This is the first Volvo engineered to be an EV. From the ground up, every EV so far, and they're pretty good. The C40 Recharge, now called the EC40, the XC40 Recharge, all use a base that began as an ICE or a PHEV. But this rides on Geely's SE8 platform, which also makes it extremely similar to the Smart #1. So essentially, the same powertrain components too. A 49 kWh battery or a 66 kWh battery, single or dual electric motors, 272 PS rear-wheel drive or 428 PS all-wheel drive. It's also identically similar in spec to the Zeekr X, but let's put that out of our minds, at least for now. I like it. It's really cool. Is that what the kids are saying these days? It's really dank. It's really fire. Whatever, I'm old. Just the dimensions and how it sits on the road with 4 wheels at every corner makes it so likable, even like cyberpunky, if that makes sense.
I think the word is athletic. That's how I describe it, because it's so squat and flat on the ground. It looks really muscular. And the way it comes back at you over here, what you see is these segmented LEDs. They're just so cool. And the rear end is even better because you do have that segmented LEDs array for the brake lights and the reversing lights over here. But it's all very, very condensed and very, very detail oriented as well. Look, you have these textured materials over here for the lower bumper, the Volvo lettering over here, EX30 over there. It looks complicated the more you look at it, but you step back, it looks really minimal. So there's 2 variants, right, like I said. But the thing is, you can't even tell if this is the Ultra rear-wheel drive or the Twin Performance Ultra. This is actually the Ultra rear-wheel drive, but I have no idea of telling until Volvo told me so. Because there's no badging whatsoever, which is in contrast to the #1 Brabus, which can't stop shouting about the fact that it's a Brabus. All the badging and red accents and everything, different wheels. On this thing, everything is exactly the same. So what would you have to really flex or you spend the extra money on the Twin Performance? Nothing really. This is also, by the way, the smallest Volvo ever made. I think ever made, because it is smaller than the XC40 obviously, so it's a 30 series car, even smaller than the C30 from, quite a long time ago. It's even smaller than its siblings. Smaller than the #1, smaller than the Zeekr X. So it's the smallest of all the SEA platform compact EVs, also the smallest Volvo ever made.
It is so clear, to me at least, that this Volvo is going after the younger crowd. You know, the ones that do Pilates in sexy yoga pants with a fat Instagram following. They promote some kind of protein, collagen, skincare, gut health, anti-aging wellness supplement. And honestly, I think they would look stunning coming out of a car like this. It's so on brand. But
this is where it gets awkward, because the Smart #1 is also a trendy, compact, premium EV. Just like this car. Same platform and everything. Also same powertrain. And then you move on to the new kid on the block, the Zeekr X, which you could argue is even better looking, is cheaper than this car, is almost just as premium as this car, lacking the brand cachet, and has a very comparable cool factor.
you see, the EX30 in both Ultra and Ultra Twin Performance spec use the same 66 kWh lithium NMC battery. That's nickel, manganese, cobalt. The Ultra uses a motor at the rear, 272 PS and 343 Nm, 0-100 in 5.4 seconds in a 476 km WLTP range. The Ultra Twin Performance adds a second motor at the front for 428 PS and 543 Nm. DC charging rate maximum at 175 kilowatts, so half an hour from 20% to 80%. AC charging is 11 kilowatts, 8 hours from 10% to full. But the range goes down to 450 kilometers WLTP, but so does its acceleration time, 0-100 in 3.6 seconds.
Practicality and boot space. That's where Volvo really excels, right? Well, this opens up to a 318 liter boot, which I know you're thinking it's very, very small. And it is. It does have a false floor over here. You can actually adjust this floor to go a little bit deeper. But even if you fold down the rear seats, you only reveal 400 liters more space. So 718 liters. And that's not particularly impressive. It does have quite a rectangular square shape for the volume, so you can fit in some flat pack IKEA furniture and whatever. But the thing is, this car has less boot space than even the Smart #1 apparently, and even the Zeekr X. Even when you fold on the seats or seats up, this car on paper has less, even though I know the Smart 1, when I opened the boot, it definitely looked smaller than this. I don't know how the math works. The frunk is also quite small, even though this is the rear-wheel drive version, so no electric motor in front. This has the same frunk space at 7 liters, barely enough space to put my not-so leather jacket that I bought from a bundle. I got a bone to pick with the key fob, okay? You got these two things. You got a key fob like this and a key card. So you can put the key card over here, I guess. That's the logo. So unlock the car and unlock again. See, it works. The key fob though, I don't know why it exists, because it's just a thing. It's just a square thing with no buttons. Maybe you can set up the fact that you can have it keyed to your phone and you can unlock it that way, but that's a whole other thing. So why have the key fob at all? And then when I turn on proximity lock, it doesn't actually lock when I walk away. In fact, it just locked the car. I don't even have proximity lock on. I turned it off. So what is it doing locking as I walked away? So on a more positive note, I'm in the car right now. I love this design, okay? They've done very smart things over here that makes you think, why can't other car makers do this? Why are we doing certain things the hard way when Volvo's figured out how to do things more simply? Look at this, okay? You have these controls down here for the seat adjustment. It is just one little square nub that you either twist this way or move it up and down directionally like a D-pad. Also a button in the center, you press it and you can adjust things on a screen using the actual adjuster and shift modes into like adjusting lumbar, adjusting thigh support, and then go back to adjusting forward and backward and seat recline. Brilliant stuff. And then you look at the door panel itself. It is carved out instead of actually having things carved into it, if that makes sense, okay? Basically, it's a whole big cavity over here. You have areas that they didn't carve out of the molding for things like, your armrest, and then they covered a whole full-length area over here for the door pocket. And it's lined with the exact same material over here, all this like reused denim or something, like recycled denim. So you can put really long items like this big Volvo bottle, in this really bright green. It goes all the way like that, just drop it in. Brilliant stuff. And then you have over here a nice solid door handle. And it functions like a normal door handle, not like an EV door handle where there's a button and it has an electronic latch. Nope, just a door handle. Wonderful. And then the material design is going on over here. I don't know how much they're paying the material scientists and designers over at Volvo. I'm guessing it's not enough, because the way this interior comes together is really beautiful. The materials that they've chosen is almost like they were informed by the design that they choose to go with, and vice versa, because there's such a unity, there's such a cohesion here that I don't really see in a lot of cars. But the materials themselves won't impress you if you're coming from the place that you want to have everything leather or everything really, really soft touch, really, really premium materials that are very traditional for a car. The seats, they call it Nordico texture something. And everything else over here on the seat back as well, it is recycled denim. But it feels good. So you tell me, if you want to flex the materials in your car, that your car has a full leather, Napa, Italian fine grain, wine, leather, whatever, or do you want the fact that this materials that they've chosen for this car is actually better for a car, for that purpose? I think this material selection is really, really good. It feels good, but you can't really just come up to your friend and say, hey, I have a recycled denim plastic and finely textured polyxyla carbonate whatever interior. That's not sexy. You do have normal cup holders over here. And basically it's a storage area. They can fold out and slide out this cup holder frame to put your cups in. So 2 over here, and the whole little area kind of retracts in, so it doesn't actually clutter the dashboard itself. Unfortunately, there isn't any center cubby, so this little area basically is the center cubby, but it slides out instead of actually having like a little hinge. You also have a storage area that is kind of hidden. Also hidden over here is the USB-C slots, 2 USB-Cs, and you can thread out the cable through a little hole over here, and ahead of that is a wireless charger. But weirdly enough, the wireless charger is on the passenger side. For the driver's side, you can put your phone there, but it won't charge wirelessly. There's minimal done right, which this car does do very well. There's also minimal done wrong, which this car also is very, very guilty of. Before I get to that, okay? This screen, like I said, is 12.3 inch. Okay, it's a portrait screen like we're used to seeing from Volvo. Nothing wrong with the hardware at all. In fact, the software also is really great because it does have wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all the usual stuff, and it works really good. The camera system is great. It looks really good on the screen as well. There's no lag whatsoever to speak of. But why do I even need Apple CarPlay when I have everything that I do on CarPlay via the screen itself? Because I can install via the Play Store, by the way, Waze. I have YouTube running. Doesn't work if I'm moving, by the way. I have Google Maps. I have everything that I need. I have Spotify. I can install Spotify if I want to. Literally everything that I would need, I already have as an app on this little tablet infotainment deck thing. Actually, Apple CarPlay is completely useless in this car. The minimal done wrong part is that literally everything is controlled via the screen. I think maybe they were too confident in the fact that they're so proud of this interface that they chose to put cram everything into the screen. Literally everything is done. Let's say, just now I mentioned storage, right? I didn't mention the glove box. The glove box is nowhere to be found. It doesn't have a slot over here but a passenger area. No, it is a central glove box, but you can only access it through a button on the screen, like that, see? So what if your screen shorts out or the car is out of commission? How do you unlock your glove box? Well, I guess you can't. Of course, it's an EV and a modern car, so it has to take away analog HVAC controls and aircon controls away from you and put it on the screen. I'm used to it by now. At least in this car, it does have analog, normal air conditioning vents. They're quite snazzy. I like it. It feels a little bit flimsy with the materials, but I can control the direction and it's fine. And this car does have one of the more easy digital on-screen controls for air conditioning compared to other cars. It's less annoying, but literally small things like the speedometer. Nope, you have to look at it through the top part of the screen over here, so you're always having to look between what's in front of you and just a little bit this way to look at how fast you're going. Even smaller things, usability things. Like let's say I want to use the mirrors to reverse and I want to kind of dip the mirror off to one side to make sure I don't curb the car. Maybe I don't want to use the 360 cam, good as it is. I can't actually adjust the mirror without going to the screen either. I have to go to, let me just find it, okay? 1 button press, 2 button press, controls. Okay, that's 3, right? That's 3. Adjust side mirror, adjust. It's okay. Right side. And now it gives me the option to use this button over here to dip the mirror. Can you see it? Can you see it on camera over there? That's how you do it. That's like 7 clicks. You could argue I'm being pedantic over here because I'm never going to use, side mirror adjustments. I do always want to use the side mirrors to reverse, let's say. I never really want to use the 360 cam, even though I'm in a really fancy car. My point is, you never go full Tesla, okay? Volvo did do that. They went full Tesla over here by just cramming everything into the central touchscreen like a Tesla, not knowing that people buy Volvos to be practical. People buy Volvos because they like the fact that it's really obvious to use and really practical and just intuitive. This is the opposite of intuitive. And make no mistake, okay? It is cheaper for any car manufacturer to use a screen as a scapegoat to put all the buttons and controls rather than cleverly designing an analog button and wiring it up and molding the button and making it part of an integrated dashboard or center console. It is far cheaper to do this. And that makes me sad that Volvo has succumbed to this really, really bad trend. And one more thing. If you noticed over here is a very minimal approach, right? There is a lack of window controls whatsoever because they're all condensed into this area over here on your little armrest. So you have a little button over here, thank God it's a button. Window goes down, all good. Same thing for the passenger side. There's only two though. What do you do if you want to use or put down the rear windows? You have to tap a little touch sensitive area here. It lights up and then you can lower the rear windows. Why not just have 4 buttons in the first place? Now you could argue I'm being super pedantic because if you're sitting in the front seats, when would you ever really need to use the rear window controls, right? I get that, okay, I get that. But you could actually, the window controls for the rear seats are actually over here on the rear side, rear facing side of the center cubby or where it would be. So if you know what you're doing, you can control it this way, see? So yeah, it reminds me of my Proton Gen 2, which for some reason also didn't have window controls on the door panel. It always has it in the center. That was really confusing back then. You see what I mean? Over here, window goes down and it goes all the way down. Hey, it's a feature right there. And it closes. If you're in any doubt that this car is not built well, window down, door test, super sturdy sound, no complaints whatsoever. So when you are in the back seat of a Volvo EX30, the first thing is that, wow, that's a big window and the sun is right in my face. I don't know if Volvo provides a blind. They really should because this is Malaysia, it gets really hot. It's the same criticism I had for the Smart Hashtag 1 and the Smart Hashtag 3 as well because they also like to have these big glass roofs, which don't really work that well in Malaysia, at least without a shade that you can roll out. In this case, you gotta buy one from Volvo or Shopee or something. Anyway, when I'm sat at the back here, I am quite comfortable, although legroom, being the smallest Volvo, isn't that great. This is where I sit, and I'm not very tall. So this is where I sit, and I have maybe about a palm's length, maybe a bit more, a palm and a couple of fingers more worth of knee room over here. I can slot my foot nice and deep underneath the front seats, and the floor is very flat, you know, being an EV and everything. But the seats could use a little bit more recline. I gotta say, the materials though, like the front, are very comfortable. The seats are nice and plush, even though it's not actual leather. This leather red material or recycled or poly fancy Swedish material, whatever it is, yeah, it's very comfortable. I like the fact that this upcycled denim seat back is quite grippy, so you are bolstered at least from the fabric of your whatever shirt you're wearing and the seat back. What it is lacking though is an armrest and rear air conditioning vents of any kind, because you know Volvo, they're known for having ingenious solutions to air conditioning vents. They would have it over here by the B pillar, but in this case you're just kind of left to be warm, and you have no armrest in the center, and I'm not sure why you don't have that. So I'm not comfortable this way. I'm too warm from the sun, and there's no air conditioning vent blowing nice cool air into my face. Anyhow, you do get a little storage area over here, 2 USB-C ports, and a through loading area with, you know, one of these trays that basically goes through the center tunnel, or what would be the center tunnel. Quite clever. But what I want to know is, does this car drive pretty good? So it's a little bit of a funny story actually. I didn't know, I assumed that I was driving the twin motor performance ultra whatever of this version, of this EX30. So the higher end dual motor with more power, right? But it turns out I'm not. Which, okay, look, so personally I would actually go for this version because any extra range I would really appreciate, because you're in the EV, the last thing you want is range anxiety. So any amount of extra range you can get, I think it'd be worth it over just acceleration and just cheap, very cheap thrills, to be honest. So with this car, you get 272 PS and 343 Newton meters of torque from a single motor at the rear. So it's rear wheel drive. So even dynamically, you could be a little bit ahead because its rear-wheel drive gives you a bit more of a playful characteristic. And the thing is, I didn't know that I was driving the rear-wheel drive because last year I was driving the all-wheel drive version. Before the launch, there's a media drive. I drove that a lot, so I could tell, I've had experience with that car performance-wise and how fast it goes. It's very fast, by the way. But driving in town, this thing is completely identical. Just the way it drives, the way it performs, the way you access the performance, and how much you're accessing the performance in town. I had no idea. There's one little menu over here. I didn't see the all-wheel drive thingy, and I text Volvo and say, hey, are you sure I'm driving the twin performance version? Because I think I'm not. And they said, like, actually, no, you're not. So, okay, even better. I like this version. This is the one I would go for. Well, if I had the money and if I was an influencer, probably, and I had to buy like an influencer's car, very trendy, very urbane, very good looking, and kind of like desirable in a futuristic, trendy way, this is the one I would choose, actually. There is no exterior indication that I'm driving the rear-wheel drive versus the all-wheel drive, and there is no inside indication either. There's one little menu button, and that's it. So with the wing mirror adjustment, you can't use it when you're reversing. You can put a shortcut over here to access the wing mirror adjustment menu, so you can go right to it from the touchscreen. But when you go into reverse, nope, you can't go into it. You can't access that little menu of shortcuts. It's going to be fully displaying the 360 cam, and there's no way to get out of it. So you can't adjust it. You got to go back into drive, tap your little shortcut, and then adjust your mirrors, and then go into reverse. And so the other thing about this car is that this is a thing that I also criticize the Smart hashtag 1 and hashtag 3, is that every time I get to the car, it resets the ADAS. All the things that annoy me about this car, I was fine with turning off. Okay, fine, you know what? I appreciate you having this ADAS functionality and everything, but at least I can turn it off, right? No, this car, like the Smarts, resets every single time. Every single time I get into this car, it just resets. And it yanks my steering wheel. I want to turn off lane keep assist. Fortunately, like I said, just shortcuts, right? I could put lane keep assist, that shortcut right there on the main screen, like a persistent shortcut. Great. But again, it resets every single time. It doesn't respect my decision. And, okay, maybe I can't demonstrate that to you, but the Harman Kardon soundbar is really good. I like it because it's so strong and in your face, because usually you would have a speaker array, one over here, a driver over here, one more down there, another one at the back, some tweeters here and there, subwoofer somewhere else in the car, in the boot maybe. In this case, it's a big sound bar, just kind of like pumping sound right in your face. So it's very, very strong. Maybe if you're in the back, maybe it's not as the effect isn't that strong, but you can actually change that based on the some setting over here. You can actually change where the sound stage would actually focus on the driver or on the center and everything. It sounds really good. Strong bass, really good mids, very punchy. I really, really like it. I know some reviewers don't like it. I don't really know why. But in terms of being a sound bar and what this delivers for an everyday feel-good thumping sound system, this is really good. I like it a lot. Like 1,000 watts, I think the amp is rated for. Yeah, I believe it. It's really strong. It's really fun to listen to. All right, steering firmness. I really like the steering feel in this car. Yes, it's a bit numb because it's electric, right? But there are 3 settings. So light for town use, medium, and firm for, I guess, sporty driving. The thing is, when you have it in firm, it is not actually firm. It is actually where it is supposed to be. It doesn't feel light. It doesn't feel super disconnected. It feels just right, and that's super firm. If you are in town and you're tempted to go into the light steering setting, don't do it, because it's overly numb and just it's way too skittish and everything. It's not. Come on, if you're really struggling with the firm setting in this car, go work out and lift some weights and eat some food, some real food, please. Yeah, the whole philosophy in this car is to just get in the car and drive. Well, first get in the car, turn off lane keep assist and all the annoying safety things that keep on resetting, and then drive. But this car, unlike other EVs, doesn't give you a lot of options for things that I find basic, like brake regen. So it wants to conserve battery, right? And usually you would have the brake regen setting in the medium. It'll just slowly recoup that energy and it'll be like a dynamo effect, slowly braking for you, right? In this car, there is seemingly no brake regen options for you. Either you go with one pedal driving or nothing at all. Like I said, there's only one button of any kind to let you know that there is anything to do with the dual motor setup over here. There is no sport mode. It's supposed to just get up and go in this car, put into drive, and it handles the way it handles. You can tweak the steering firmness, but that doesn't really do much, to be honest. So no sport mode, no comfort mode, no eco mode, no nothing. Just get it in this car and drive. The suspension tuning on this thing, it's not like it needs a sport mode because the suspension tuning is fantastic. It is such a balance between having a car that is sharp and responsive. This is not a light car. It's pretty heavy, but it's taking these little corners so well and so responsive. Not really getting in the way either. It's so planted. I like how this thing handles. The balance is really, really admirable. This car has been tuned so well, and that is what makes me kind of question the Smart #1, because again, the same platform, the same motor setup, the same battery, the same whatever that's going on underneath the floor over here is the same as a Smart #1. The tuning is different though, and what they've done with the car has transformed it. I never really got on with the #1. Even the Brabus feels quite numb and just vague, and it's trying to be a performance car, or trying to be a more performance-oriented smart Brabus thingy, but it just doesn't do it. It just kind of falls flat. It's very fast in a straight line, off the line, sure. The #3 is more talented, but it's my #1, which is the more, appropriate competitor to this car, just can't compete with it in terms of dynamics. But in terms of power, all right, maybe you're missing out. Maybe you think you're missing out because, oh no, I should have dual motors, but this has 272 PS, a lot of response, a lot of pickup. Even if you have 5 people in the car, there's no way you are missing a small gap, even a small gap on the highway. You can just slot in right away. The performance delivery is immediate, it is strong, it pulls very hard. There is no real sensation to me right now that like, oh, I kind of miss having dual motors and 428 PS. Nope, don't miss it at all. Remember what I said just now? You never go full Tesla? Yeah, I still agree with that. Those points of friction that I was so annoyed with at first kind of fade into the background, and it becomes normal. This car does have a nice ability to just get you from point A to point B and not get in your way, except for lane keep assist, which I find really annoying, so turn it off, whatever, reset. This car does take the minimalism to the nth degree, just like Tesla, but does it actually get in the way actively? Certain things do, with the parking thing, the lane keep assist, the ADAS resetting every single time, and that does get in the way for me, all right? But if you learn to kind of maneuver around them, besides those two things are all software. Smart did it, or did do it, or it should be listening to customer feedback. Volvo should be too. You can not make the ADAS system reset every time. That's just like a little line of code. Don't reset. Perfect time to add a head-up display to show me, I don't know, my navigation, show me my speed. So fine, you want minimalism, and a head-up display is completely minimalist. It is the most minimalist solution you can have for essential instrumentation on the dashboard. You don't have to take your eyes off the windscreen at all. So why can't I have a head-up display in my premium Volvo? I could tell you maybe that there is a cover, maybe from the Volvo dealership, maybe from Volvo themselves, corporate in Sweden, that they have a cover for this, but there is no cover provided to me in this car. And even if there was, where would I put it? There's no obvious area to store this cover, because unless it folds, which is going to be quite a difficult process anyway to fold it up and everything, where would I store that? So most likely it is not a folding cover, so you would have to have it stored somewhere, maybe in the boot. And the boot isn't very big, like I said. Today, luckily, it is not so sunny. It's quite cloudy. The sun is obscured. I'm not having the sun burn my neck. But yesterday it was a scorching day, like 40 degrees, no clouds in the sky, just full on sun. And I left the car in the sun, to park for a couple of hours. I came back, it was baking hot inside. It was really, really warm, super, super warm. I was sweating in the car. So the aircon had to work overtime just to cool down the car. And even after most of the heat in that car from baking in the sun for 2 hours was gone, it still had to work overtime because there's more heat coming into the cabin from the sun all the time. And whatever tinting they have on this, it does reflect the heat a little bit, but you still have the ray of sun. Like, it was on my neck, it was on my forearm, it was on my forehead. It didn't need to be this way. But the key fob I don't get at all, because there's no buttons on the key fob at all. Okay, this car, and this will take some diving into, but this car, there is a walk-away lock function. So it uses the key fob as a proximity reference. You move further away, it locks. The thing is, the chime for the lock is very loud. Very, very loud. It is a shriek. It's a very, very loud beep. There is no being subtle about it. There's no class to it. It's just sorry, the mic peaked right there, but it's literally like that. And so I turn it off. And I'm one of those people who are OCD about locking my car. So I would second guess myself. Is the car locked? When I walk away, is it actually locked? I can't quite make out, because my eyes is maybe too far away. I can't make out whether or not the wing mirrors are folded. But I can't press the button either on the key fob, because guess what? There is no button. And there is a little footage of me when I was reviewing the car, on camera and stuff, where the proximity lock is so unreliable. I walk toward the car and then it locks. I walk away from the car and it doesn't lock. Then I question myself, wait, did it work? Did I blink and then I missed the locking, the signal light blinking or whatever, or the sound? No, then I walked back to the car and then it locked. It just doesn't work very well. So it's useless. What's the point of having a key fob that doesn't help me lock? And then, all right, so what I resort to is it's only locking the car when I press the button on the door handle. You press the button over there. It's a touch sensitive button on the door handle and it just locks the car, whatever, good. But I had something in the back, okay, on that side, on the passenger side at the back. So, all right, I got out of the car, I closed the door, but I can't lock the car yet, right? So what I had to do was go around to the back and get the thing from the back seat on the passenger side, and then with my hands full, go around the car again to the driver's side, press the button on the door handle, and then walk away, because I couldn't have, even though I had the key fob in my hand. So what is the point of the key fob? Oh, but maybe you could actually set up the phone with your Volvo app or something and then remotely use the app to lock the car or unlock the car or whatever. Yeah, but look, number one, fiddling with your phone is way more difficult because the phone is bigger. Okay? So if my hands are full, then I have a much more difficult time trying to access the app, unlock my phone, passcode, whatever, open the app, lock the car. That is more difficult. And besides, again, I have the key fob right with me, but except the key fob doesn't work as a key fob. There is no button to do anything. So why even have the key fob in the first place? What is the point? If you're gonna make a key fob, make it useful. All right, some closing thoughts, okay? This car, despite all the flaws, and I know I've listed quite a few of them over here, things that have gotten in the way, things that have just kind of annoyed me for no reason. Ultimately, I still like this car. I didn't like the Smart 1. I didn't. Okay, I never connected with the car. But for some reason, I have with this. It has a certain character, a certain personality. I like the way it drives, and maybe that's the saving grace. I'm willing to forgive it because of the way it drives. It just drives really good, and it looks really good. Seriously, you come out of you could be dressed like a bum and come out of this car and people will go, ooh, who's that? That's such such a good-looking, handsome, pretty, cute-looking car, whatever word you want to insert. I wonder who that person is. That person must be really interesting because of the fact that they come out of this Volvo. And I can't really say that kind of magic isn't really there on the Smart, in my opinion. This car is just so much cooler. That cool factor, seriously, is strong with this car. And what I respect, even though the minimalism goes a bit overboard, what I do respect about this car is the intention and the philosophy and the just stubbornness with which the Volvo engineers and designers were going about when they designed and engineering this car, because you can tell that they were on the same page. They wanted to, for better or worse, make this car according to their vision. So everything is very streamlined, very minimal, for better or worse, but they had a vision and they stuck with it. You can tell that they were very strong with their intention when going about developing this car. The design philosophy and the engineering were so on mesh. It might be a little bit random, but I think this car does have this Range Rover Evoque magic to it. The Range Rover Evoque, I know, has a lot of issues, okay? It is very much a flawed car, but it is by far a very popular car. Maybe by far the most popular car in, like Land Rover's portfolio, because it has a certain magic about it. It has a certain perception about it. It just has a certain something about it, the look, the way it, it just goes down the road. It elicits admiration and wonder. This car has it, something about it. It makes you, it imbues you with positive thoughts from other people. So I do like it despite its flaws, even though maybe I shouldn't. What do we think of the Volvo EX30? First of all, I would say I would get this 100% over the Smart #1. No offense, again, Smart, but this thing just pulls off what you were trying to do so much better. I just like this car. This car has more personality, more edge, and just more desirability than the Smart. Also, it has the badge, Volvo badge. I would also get the rear-wheel drive, because any amount of range that you can extract from an EV is always a good thing. And it's not like you're really missing out, to the point that I didn't even notice or miss the fact that I didn't have the front motor and only had 272 PS. This to me is still a very fast car, 0 to 100 in 5.3 seconds. And lastly, it also has this kind of very urbane, cool, trendy, fashionista vibe. A lot of cars try to go for the exact same kind of USP and demographic, but this car really succeeds in it. And it's a thing with the Evoque too. It has a kind of magic that made it very popular despite its flaws. I think this car does have that appeal too, but in EV form. The only question left is the Zeekr X, because all signs point to the fact that the Zeekr X has many of the same USPs as this car, but it also is coming at a price that is much cheaper, or significantly cheaper, than the Volvo. Anyway, thanks for watching the video up to this point. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I really appreciate that. I'll see you guys on the next one.